what do you at this time find yourself always putting into the children's areas of a home? If anything? I'm just curious what the take is at this time from persons like yourself that are working with families.
Outdoor fabrics. Yeah, durability, and it's so much fun now because it used to be that it was, sort of one note for exterior, and now you can have velvets. Perennials has amazing, prints and fabrications and chenilles and all kinds of things that you can bring inside and sort of extend the life of the furnishings in kids' spaces.
I think kids' spaces have become sort of more mature and more like part of the home instead of just a kid's bedroom. Mm-hmm. So reflecting with pieces of modern art. I mean, I see a little bit more focus in just making the room a little bit more grand in a weird way. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Remember Kelly Wursler's kids' bedrooms, the blues and the greens?
And I love that with that piece of art that she blew up, that Indian miniature.
Yeah,
that was so
great.
The
directoire bed.
I loved that, yeah. So I'm feeling a little bit of that too for clients, or I've been trying to show them more of that, I guess.
Anyone else?
Here. We have a taker.
Are people still interested at all in traditional art, or is everything leaning toward contemporary?
I think absolutely people love a beautiful painting, whatever it may be. If it works in the space or if it's something that they're drawn to. I mean, art is so personal. I have clients that collect beautiful art that's all kinds of across the board. So no, there's no right or wrong.
In a room that I did recently, in one of the houses here, the one that's in Holby Hills, in one room, there's a Christopher Wool, a Picasso oil, an Andy Warhol of the original of Jackie O, and they all, coexist beautifully together. So it's, and then they have also, they in the hallway, sort of adjacent, they have a Monet. I mean, it's really, I know that that's on a high level, but their eye doesn't discriminate. I mean, beautiful art on that level is beautiful. And it just, in the rooms that have, it's interesting, the rooms that have more contemporary art, the furnishings are slightly more traditional and antique. And the rooms that have more, 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th century art, that furniture gets very streamlined. So that's the way you sort of play it. You sort of create that juxtaposition of letting, when you straighten the lines of something, you look at something else. So it's just a series of lines. So that's the way I think art sort of works in a room. Don't you feel the same way?
Yeah.
I think you can go back to 1st century A.D. Vitruvius. I don't care what goddamn style it is. He said commodity, firmness, and delight. And that means something to everyone, whether it's modern or traditional. That was 2,000 years ago, plus. I think that's a verity in life. And in design.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
I like that.
Anyone else? Yes.
I was wondering, do you ever turn down some jobs? And what would be the reason, the number one reason why?
Are you speaking to me?
Anyone who will answer that question.
Yes, you especially.
Do you need a designer?
No, I think I'm going to answer for myself and then you quickly. Usually clients come from other clients, and there's an assurance there. There's been several times I've been fooled, but I've dealt with it and made it happen. I mean, you get married for 6 or 8 years, a project can take. That's a long time. And sometimes you become friends. That's the best. But sometimes you wonder, there's a lady that, never mind.
I know that lady.
The men are usually not involved. And so that's why I said late. I mean, the women, there's some lady, anyway, it doesn't make any difference.
Michelle, do you ever turn down clients?
I try not to if it's a good job, but I mean, I do have sort of, it depends on the scale of the job, so sometimes for that reason it doesn't work for me, but, and if I don't feel, really I've tried to take less jobs and just the ones I really am cherry picking. So sometimes I don't have time, and sometimes I just feel like maybe I'm not right for them or they're not right for me. But
There's one of the subtext of that is sometimes you get married and you don't really know what happens until you've hit the bed. I don't mean that literally, but you know, I mean, you know what
that
I mean.
hasn't happened to me yet. But I know what you're saying.
Well, it can
Yeah,
happen.
all my clients usually become very good friends. I like all the clients I have. So I try to get rid of the ones that I don't like.
How do you do that, my Liebchen? Oh my God.
I know you do that too.
I definitely, feel that when you're interviewing as much as they're interviewing. And I think that you just want someone to be ultimately happy. So if you feel right at the beginning that you're having to defend your point of view, or they don't quite understand you, or they want some kind of proving ground or something, then it's just not the right match. I think that these days, if someone's hiring someone on this level, they have to really kind of do their homework and understand that you are who they're looking for to design. I think if you're defending yourself from the get-go, all the glitters isn't gold. There are jobs you should walk from.
Well, also we're artists, so if someone hires me and says you can only use blue, how do I work with that? Like, I don't know. But so I need to have some creative freedom, and sometimes I feel that people rein me in too much. Not that I don't want to help them create their vision, because I think that's my job, to create the beautiful room that they want. But having said that, they have to listen to me. So sometimes I have trouble with that.
And also there's subtext. Most clients come from other clients. So you know they've been vetted in a nice way, and in a polite way. You've met them probably, and you know them, and you know their house or what they want to do, and that is also a safeguard.
Yes.
I mean, it helps.
I think they usually come to you because they've identified or seen something that's spoken to their sensibility. And so generally it's they're coming to you because they're already at the altar. Just as long as your business practices are good and you're transparent and all of that, then it's usually easy from there. But I think for the most part it has to be a match from the get-go.
Yeah.
I like that altar bit.
Windsor, talk about transparency, because I know that you're a big proponent of transparency, and just talk about your philosophy about all that.
Well, I just feel that the decorating trade, unfortunately, has a little bit of a bad reputation because of just the way it's been set up. And I know that's a really controversial subject, and we're going to go to a whole different place with this. But the bottom line is that I feel that we should wear our design chops and our accomplishments like a badge of honor, and that we should be paid for that, for the design, sort of where we are in our careers and our successes, and that then it should be off the table. So there should be a fee structure that's attached to that. And then it should remove, what you should do is put yourself in your contract situation where you're the advocate for your client and not their opponent. So if you're, for example, if you've taken on a client and you're working primarily on a commission structure, then there's this feeling that with the client perhaps that if they find a piece that's like what you were looking for, that then they wouldn't pay the commission on that. And you really need to set up the playing field to where it's really transparent, where they know exactly what you're making, and that any discounts you're able to negotiate, you forward on to your client. I've always felt strongly about that because I think it takes you out of the position of the person that they feel like they don't know what you're making, how much you're making. I think they should know exactly what you're making, and then they should pay you 4 times. They should pay you 50% up front, and in 2 or 3 payments after that are the length of the contract. And then they only don't like you 4 times. Instead of, however 1,500 purchases that they have to write a commission check to you attached to the purchase. They go through this evaluation process. How much time did she spend finding that? What was that? A design project is the sum of all of its parts. And the part that you should be paid for is the part that is your talent that you bring to the table. So I've just always felt like it should be an open book policy. But unfortunately, the way the contracts were written long, long ago, it was really all about sort of all of the income was tethered to the purchase. And there's been a lot of talk in the industry about sort of changing that to where manufacturers are, commissioning or paying commissions to designers for peddling their project, their product, just like sort of reps. But Even that, I don't think it should be about that. I think it should be about design, and that you should be paid for design and your ideas
Okay,
and
thank
your
you.
coordination of the design.
Any other questions? Yes.
Do you guys have any unusual ideas for repurposing the large dining rooms that everyone has that no one uses? If you still need a dining room table in there, but you have all this other space, rather than just putting a little seating arrangement around the fireplace?
I
Any
told
good
you
ideas?
before, don't build dining rooms, libraries, and living rooms. Build one room.
It's already there.
Build one room. No, but I'm saying in the future.
How would you repurpose them?
What?
She's asking how to repurpose them. Well, how would you
No,
make them into
you're
He
right.
thinks you need to redo it.
There's nothing you can do. Wait a minute, all of our clients have dining rooms. They use them. I can't think of one person that doesn't use the dining room. And what's more, when the dining rooms are built, they have a bay window with a round table that you can extend and 4 or 5 people can sit there. That's been a safeguard, but everyone wants a dining room. I don't know, do your clients not want a dining room?
A lot of my
Well,
clients don't.
A lot of my clients like one big great room. And we've done, like I had a client recently that we put a giant Chinese wedding bed in the dining room.
Well.
Yeah, it was actually fabulous. It was
Oh,
kind
no, I
of.
was joking about the wedding.
Oh, okay. I don't think they had their wedding there. But yeah, so trying to repurpose it a bit. I mean, I think the days of just one long dining table are sort of done. However, in Texas, we're kind of traditional here, so.
It depends on where you are with your family. I mean, I think that kids are getting all kinds of new family spaces that were traditionally more formal spaces before. So a dining room, because it's in close proximity to the kitchen, if it's in a center hall plan where it's one of the first rooms you see, it might not be a great idea, but you could also put big, beautiful doors. I actually worked on a project that they did that. They took the dining room that was by the front door. You walked in the front door, and to the right was the beautiful living room, and to the left was traditionally the dining room. And they put beautiful, big mahogany doors that we ended up actually not wanting the mahogany and lacquering them in like a deep navy. But that was to the left. And so inside of that room was actually this incredible ecosystem for kids. You know, it was like study, beautiful built-ins. I mean, it was a respectable room. It wasn't, poorly crafted by any stretch. But it was really sort of kid space because the kids were maybe teenagers, young adults, and wanted a little bit of privacy, but also wanted to be in close proximity to where all the action was in the kitchen and with the parents and all that. So I would say it became sort of a library that wasn't the formal library of the house, but it was a second kind of library that really was task-oriented, where they could do homework projects, be on the computer and things like that. That was one way.
Okay. One more question. Yes.
Are you finding that clients are expecting a higher level of perfection than they did in the past? Because everything is beautiful and glossy and luxurious in a magazine, and then they expect everything is going to look exactly like it does in a magazine. And how do you deal with a level of impatience in terms of how long it's going to take to install the project? And especially if they want perfection, I always tell my clients, if you want perfection, you need patience, collaboration, and money. And sometimes, though, they're not very patient because everything is so instantaneous now. They expect the HGTV overnight installation. How do you deal with that?
I agree 100% with what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's a different world. It's changing. Everyone expects everything yesterday. And it's in some of the work we do, and I'm sure it's very difficult to do it. But I do believe in modular homes that you can put up immediately, and I do believe that there's resources today in America that didn't exist 25 years ago to buy furniture, and it's delivered in 2 days. We did a job up in Montreal for a client's son who's in the process of a divorce. We had to do a house practically overnight that this man bought for his son. We went to Restoration Hardware, and the goddamn house was done in less than a month.
How'd you like it?
I love it. I think it's beautiful. You could go on about that, but it was one shot, but it solves the problem, and he's happy. I hope his new wife will be. But I think speed is a subtext to this 20th and 21st century, and I totally agree with you. And there's going to be a venue, like I just said, modular architecture, where you can get something quickly.
So you're just
Stores.
saying it's a reality. It's a reality, and we have to deal with it?
Well, and if your clients are willing to take restoration hardware, I guess you can make that happen. But when you're doing things that are like probably David's other jobs and ours, it's not possible. I mean, sometimes you can ask a manufacturer or a fabric mill to just pull it together for you because you're desperate. And you know, sometimes they'll do those favors for you, but clients need to be aware that we're doing the best we can.
I think you have to manage expectation. I mean, I think you have to create a schedule. I always say, deliver it a week early and under budget. And I think as long as that's your mantra, you know, you have to, the biggest problem that we have is that we're all people. Is that the way you say it? People pleasers. So we tend to want to sort of paint a rosy picture up front. I mean, I think that this is something that long lead time issues, rugs are always the biggest challenge, and it's so appropriate that we're talking about this because they sometimes, if they're not, it's expensive to keep immediate stock, but we all know that you have to have a beautiful rug in the room. The whole room is built up from the rug. And so how do you manage the expectation of the client that if we want to make this and in custom colors, it's going to be, you know, several months before you get this rug? It's truthfulness. It's like saying, okay, here's the components that we're going to do, and if you want to wait to install the whole thing till we get the rug, here's our timeline, and let's work backwards from there. But if you, and then live to that, you know? So, but if you tell them that up front, then you're going to have a lot easier time managing their expectation than if it's something that you sort of want to eke out the information somewhere down the road, because to them it always seems longer anyway. So, and then I think checkpoints, you know, checking in on product that's long lead items, and getting back to the client and saying, here's where we are. Or I actually, with upholsterers, I have them send me photographs of where they are in the process. So that way, and then I share that with the client. Okay, well, here's your frames. They're like, you know, what is that? But I do that for a reason, because I want them to feel engaged in the process, and it's not like the day that it's going to be delivered, they then get the news that it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks longer. It's just managing expectation, really.
Okay. Well, thank you all. It's a fun conversation. Thank you all for coming.